we've got a great one in Nuggets and Timberwolves.
Oh, baby.
2-3 matchup, a 56 or 57 win team versus a 56 win team, respectively. The Nuggets had 57, the Wolves had 56. We're getting started on Saturday for us recording here. That's tomorrow. That's the only game going on Saturday, so we can just pay attention to these iconic teams. I'm calling them iconic because I think they're just so good this season. And what a first round for the Timberwolves to get here with the sweep. The Nuggets took care of business with the Lakers, but they had to do it in 5. I'm looking forward to this series. What are you watching for in this series? One thing to watch, Trey.
One of the first things I'm going to be interested in is Jamal Murray, period. He's coming off a calf injury. You know, I think he was questionable heading into Game 5 against the Lakers when he went out and had 32 points and 7 assists. Looked incredible. Hit another game winner. But I think the matchup is a lot harder for Jamal Murray playing against the Timberwolves. Had a favorable matchup against the Lakers, but now it's going to be Mike Conley, I think, gets a lot of time on Jamal Murray. At least he did in the regular season, but they have so many guys they could throw at him with different skill sets. Obviously, Jaden McDaniels can bring the length and the quickness to bother Jamal Murray. Anthony Edwards, I'm sure, will probably get a little bit of time on Jamal Murray. He's a stronger guy than Murray is. Nickeil Alexander-Walker also has length and activity to harass Jamal Murray. So that, to me, just means is how's he going to be able to operate in this series? We know that the Jokic-Murray two-man game gets good shots against anybody. Murray didn't have the greatest playoff series. He had some amazing moments, I thought, against the Lakers, but his shooting percentages were down for Jamal Murray, so I think that's a big-time matchup. If he's able to produce the way that we've seen throughout his playoff career, the Nuggets should be feeling pretty happy, but it's going to be tough for him because the Timberwolves have a lot of options on him.
Yes. Jamal Murray didn't have a great series, although he finished games pretty damn well in that series. So, yeah, Jaden McDaniels being on him, they have so many options because they're such a good defense, and he did a good job against Devin Booker in the first round.
Yeah.
He made Devin Booker truly struggle. So even if it's just at the end of games, that's a good matchup for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he wasn't a part of the playoffs last season when the Timberwolves did face the Nuggets, and the Nuggets handled the Timberwolves in 5 games. So that's going to be interesting. I'm interested from the other side how the Wolves decide to guard other guys. Let's start with Jokic.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Rudy versus Jokic? I don't know, because throughout this regular season, Cat was the guy guarding Jokic, and Rudy was the guy on Aaron Gordon, because they didn't want Rudy flying all the way around the three-point line guarding Jokic. They'd be much happier dealing with Aaron Gordon, and that could be it as well. I mean, it's just tough with these 2 7-footers against this Denver Nuggets team. If there's anybody that can slow down this Denver Nuggets team, I think the Timberwolves have a good shot at it. Now, no one can stop Jokic, so it doesn't really matter if you put Cat or Rudy on him. I mean, Rudy's obviously a really good defender, but Jokic is just going to torch everybody. I mean, he had 43 last season in this series against Rudy Gobert. He's got that famous line of Gobert waving off a double team to come help him against Jokic, and Jokic said, "Brother, I have 47." You know, he's just so good. The Wolves are just a monstrous team, and the Nuggets are so good. They don't need threes to win. They're one of those rare teams in the NBA, and they didn't need them against the Los Angeles Lakers. There's just so many matchups. I wonder how the Wolves guard Michael Porter, because he was really good against the Lakers. I think you could see Jaden McDaniels guarding him. You could see some Aaron Gordon guarding him. Excuse me, not guarding him. But you could see McDaniels against Aaron Gordon. But there's just many matchups here because Porter was just scorching against the Lakers. So you need somebody good. They've got a lot of good guys.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Karl Anthony Towns he's got to have a huge series in this one, just like he did against the Suns, just because it's such a weird position, right? Like a 7-footer who can stretch the court, can create his own shots, can get shots for other people, and like you're saying, he's going to be guarding Jokic sometimes. Like, I know that the Timberwolves like to play Jokic one-on-one with Rudy sometimes. They did that last year when he had 43. That was the only game that the Nuggets lost in that series. They're like, okay, go and score. See what you can do. And he scored, but they shut everybody else down. It's a lot tougher for Jokic when Gobert is like the roamer and they don't have to worry. Maybe he's able to take away the lobs to Aaron Gordon with his height and his length and his rim protection, but that then puts Karl Anthony Towns under the spotlight from a foul perspective because he's got to be able to play this series. We know he makes some dumb fouls, but he did a great job in the Phoenix series being able to stay on the court for the most part. It's different against Jokic, a guy who draws a ton of fouls.
That's a good point. So is Cat your X factor, or do you have another one?
I got some more X factors. I think the Timberwolves bench is a huge X factor, in particular for Minnesota. Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are the two best bench players in this series.
Yeah.
The Nuggets bench is really thin. You know, they basically play three guys in Reggie Jackson, who's dealing with an ankle injury, Christian Brown, and Peyton Watson. Outside of Reggie, Brown and Watson, they're not big scorers. If Karl Anthony Towns is in foul trouble, that means we're seeing a lot more Naz Reid minutes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I mentioned the defensive impact he can have. Also a pretty good three-point shooter, which would be a good way for the Timberwolves to flip the script on the Nuggets. They have to win the non-Jokic minutes Minnesota does in this series because they should have an advantage with their reserves.
Yeah, the bench is pretty important. I think the X factor for me is going to be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because who else guards Anthony Edwards? Like, let's get to the Anthony Edwards story here, because he is phenomenal. I called this series iconic to start this talk. I got people in the stream team saying I hate Tass's takes because I called them iconic, but Anthony Edwards is an icon. He feels like he's developing that. He was 31, 8, and 6 in the first series on 51% shooting. The Suns tried to double him, and he was just able to find everywhere. Everyone was so good around him. You got the Mike Conley game, you got the Jaden McDaniels game. But I got to respect Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, even though people think Anthony Edwards is just stronger than him. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope did end that series with an injury. Yeah. He has had some time off since the end of that series, so hopefully he is good. But who else do you want to try? I think the Aaron Gordon experiment, although he's strong enough, Edwards would probably be a little too fast for him. So I think I just respect his defense, and I respect him to be able to play through injury. So I do think Anthony Edwards is going to be super, super good. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will guard him fairly well. So I'm looking forward to that, because like you were just saying about trying to guard Jokic one-on-one that the Timberwolves did, they said, Rudy, you take him, Cat, you take him. I don't think they're going to try and double somebody like Anthony Edwards from the Nuggets defensive side. They're not going to try and double Anthony Edwards because the Wolves are just so good at grabbing offensive rebounds. And once you put two guys there and you're scrambling, you're more likely to allow offensive rebounds. And that's what happened to the Suns in the first round. The Timberwolves were just grabbing rebound after rebound after rebound. 40% of their misses is what they collected. I mean, that's way too easy. So I do think it's going to be a single coverage against Anthony Edwards. So it's probably KCP, although there will be some as you mentioned. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is just damn good coming off the bench, and he was good against Booker. But is Anthony Edwards too strong for that guy? I mean,
well, I don't think is going to be guarding Anthony Edwards.
A little bit, but
no way. They're on the same team.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. No, not
KCP is the question.
Yeah, KCP is the question.
He's going to get the most of the Anthony Edwards assignment. I think Christian Brown will guard him a little bit. He's pretty strong as well, moves his feet. Peyton Watson, I assume, will get a few chances here and there. And then Aaron Gordon, like you mentioned, they're going to have to use him on Anthony Edwards a little bit just because of his strength, and KCP is dealing with an ankle injury. KCP did a really good job against Ant during the regular season, held him scoreless in the fourth quarter twice during the regular season. That will be a question mark in this series because we know the Nuggets get great shots no matter what in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves, not always. They were not one of the best fourth quarter teams during the regular season. They also played a first round playoff series where there weren't a lot of tense moments in the fourth quarter, though Anthony Edwards did dominate in fourth quarters against Phoenix, even though he was not great against them during the regular season. So you mentioned the strength. KCP is more of a slight guy. Aaron Gordon is a strong guy. When KCP is on him and it's the fourth quarter, Anthony Edwards needs to get in the post and work on the bank shots.
Yeah.
Because that's a place where he could easily make hay.
Yeah, they didn't have to play a great fourth quarter against Phoenix Suns other than the last game. The only close game in the fourth quarter was the fourth one. And you're right, Nickeil Alexander-Walker will not be guarding Anthony Edwards.
That's an advantage Nuggets if that happens.
Yeah, I had a bench player written down to guard Anthony Edwards. It was there was a Watson, there was a WA. I went with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, so maybe Watson gets some minutes there. Hopefully KCP is healthy. I mean, that is important in this one because he is very, very good, and that's who if there's anybody that can slow down Anthony Edwards, it's got to be him, I think.
He's their best chance for sure.
All right, moving on to the prediction here. Nuggets, T-Wolves. What do you got?
This to me feels like the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if it is. I mean, it's really only the second round, but I thought the Timberwolves probably looked the best of any team in the NBA in the first round of the playoffs. The Nuggets played incredible in second halves against the Lakers, but over the course of the series, this was not the Nuggets at their absolute peak. They can get better. We know that Jokic is the best player in the NBA, but if there's a way for Anthony Edwards to be the best player in this series, that's how the Timberwolves win. It's tough to bet against Anthony Edwards at this point. The guy is ascending faster than we would have imagined, and he, coming into the Phoenix series, everybody's like, uh-oh, watch out. Phoenix has really handled this guy, and he completely tore him apart, sent him packing, made him look old. That being said, the Nuggets have home court advantage. I'm taking Nuggets in 7.
Nuggets in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the others, I bet against the Wolves in round 1. And I start looking at them and I say, are these the 2011 Mavs who were bet against round after round after round? People took Portland in round 1, and then they played the defending champs in round 2, just like the Timberwolves are. They played the Lakers here. In round 3, if they get there, they would be playing OKC, just like Dallas did in 2011. They were the underdog against LeBron in Miami. This team would be the underdog against the Boston Celtics, I would think. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm wondering if they're just, if this being their first, second round together against the freaking champs is going to slow them down a little bit. I know they've got motivations. They're playing for an injured coach.
That's right.
and Chris
one
Finch.
For Finchy.
They're playing for their old players. And Mike Conley said before the playoffs started, I don't have many more years. Let's go play. And they played, like you said, they did look it was definitely the most dominating win of that first round, even though there are other great teams and great players like Nikola Jokic. Like, how do you bet against this guy? He was so good against this team. He's throughout the regular season, he's just so good against everybody. With the home court, I just lean Nuggets 7 games as well. It's going to be a doozy.
Yeah. Skeet sent in his pick as well. Nuggets in 7. I think that is going to be a pretty common pick in this series.
Everybody playing it safe.
And these two teams have been so well matched. We had Bruce Brown talking up the Timberwolves after last year's playoffs. We had, the seeding coming down to the last week of the season. The Nuggets beat the Timberwolves to have this Game 7 at home, literally.
Yeah.
So, it just feels like a tight series.